Everyone's talking about this. Did Meghan Markle really copy Kate's work? Find out the shocking truth. There's a very specific sense of déjà vu that kicks in whenever Meghan Markle starts dispensing life advice. And it's not the comforting, nostalgic kind. It's the kind that makes you pause and think, wait, haven't we heard this already? Because this week's headline moment doesn't feel like a breakthrough. It feels like a rerun nobody queued up. This time around, Meghan is encouraging people to swap emoji laughs for real laughter. Yes, that was her takeaway. Fewer laughing faces, more authentic belly laughs. It was delivered with such dramatic earnestness that it felt almost theatrical. The message itself is nothing new. Screens are bad. Human connection is good. Children need presence, engagement, laughter, the usual checklist. All worthwhile ideas, of course. But here's the catch. None of this is groundbreaking. And it's certainly not unexplored territory. In reality, this ground has already been carefully and extensively covered by Catherine, the Princess of Wales. Not as a passing trend, not as a soundbite, but as a central focus of her long-term work. Which leads us to what has become Meghan's most predictable pattern. Stepping into a space Catherine has already established, repeating the same themes, and then presenting them as if they're a brand new discovery. Let's stick to the facts. Catherine has spent years methodically building the Royal Foundation Center for Early Childhood, a serious, research-based initiative centered on early development, mental health, family dynamics, and yes, the effects of screen exposure on children. There's no grandstanding, no viral theatrics, just quiet, sustained commitment over time. Toward the end of 2025, Catherine partnered with Harvard professor Robert Waldinger on a reflective essay titled The Power of Human Connection in a Distracted World. The piece explored how early and excessive screen exposure can lead to emotional distance, particularly in children. One passage resonated strongly. We may be physically present, yet mentally elsewhere, unable to truly connect with the people in front of us. That wasn't a marketing slogan. It was insight grounded in long-standing research and real responsibility. Now compare that approach with what unfolded more recently. Meghan and Harry appeared in a highly filtered video conversation for Oprah Daily, joined by authors Jonathan Haidt and Caroline Price, who had just published a book warning about the dangers of early smartphone use for kids. Meghan leaned forward, nodded solemnly, and declared that nothing can replace a deep, guttural belly laugh. She went on to argue that laughing emojis don't create the same physical or emotional response in children. Let's stop there for a moment. A so-called guttural belly laugh doesn't exactly evoke warmth. It sounds more like someone struggling through a mouthful of food. It's hardly an inspiring image of joyful parenting. More importantly, no one was unclear about this concept to begin with. Parents don't need a filtered webcam lecture to understand that real human interaction matters. And this is where the contradiction becomes hard to ignore. Meghan's habit of embracing causes only after Catherine has already laid the foundation is well established. Mental health, women's advocacy, early childhood development, nature as therapy, mindfulness. Even the timing often mirrors moments meant to highlight Catherine's work. This appearance, once again, landed right as Catherine was being publicly celebrated. Meghan also suggested that encouraging more laughter in children helps parents copy those behaviors and become more present themselves. But here's the uncomfortable reality. Most parents don't require reminders to engage with their kids. If connection needs to be scheduled, something is already missing. Many viewers came away thinking the same thing. I don't need a lifestyle brand to tell me to enjoy my child. I already do. Now it's time to address the elephant in the Montecito estate. Harry and Meghan often speak at length about being present parents and the dangers of the online world, even launching initiatives alongside families who've lost children to internet-related harms. Yet, at the same time, reports continue to circulate suggesting Meghan is frequently absent, allegedly communicating with her own children via email. Meanwhile, their kids are selectively presented as tightly controlled PR images, all while being described as fiercely shielded from public exposure. The messaging simply doesn't line up. At some point, consistency matters. And then there are the optics, something the public inevitably notices. The Wales children, George, Charlotte, and Louis, consistently come across as confident, comfortable, socially at ease, and genuinely connected to both their parents and each other. The warmth is visible. The security is evident. You can clearly see the time and attention invested. By contrast, the Sussex children are rarely seen, and when they do appear, the moments often feel awkward and emotionally distant. Observers noted Lily appearing unusually rigid in a recent holiday image, while Archie seemed withdrawn. There's little obvious sibling rapport or natural ease. Humans are remarkably intuitive when it comes to reading body language, and many people interpret these images as children who appear isolated. Raised primarily by staff rather than peers, protected to an extent that borders on confinement. For a couple that constantly speaks about connection, that contradiction is hard to ignore. When Catherine discusses human connection, it feels authentic and grounded. When Meghan uses similar language, it often comes across as staged. The words may sound alike, but the energy is entirely different. Catherine doesn't announce herself. She doesn't chase relevance. She doesn't commercialize motherhood or turn values into branding. Meghan, on the other hand, often sounds as though she's auditioning for the role of cultural thought leader in a project that never quite finds its footing. Much of what she says feels like a response to criticism that was never voiced. While Meghan was delivering carefully filtered monologues, Catherine quietly released the final chapter of her Mother Nature series on her birthday. There was no build-up, no merchandise, no performative smiles, just a calm reflection on winter, stillness, and renewal. In one understated moment, she dipped her hand into water, revealing her sapphire engagement ring, the same one once worn by Princess Diana. Predictably, social media erupted after Catherine had been photographed without the ring the previous day. What critics failed to consider, or even look up, was that hospital protocols require plain bands for hygiene reasons. The brief absence sparked unnecessary drama, but its reappearance spoke volumes, composed, dignified, and entirely unbothered. Catherine doesn't feel the need to explain herself. She never has. This is where critics often miss the point. True luxury doesn't shout. Catherine doesn't wear her engagement ring everywhere, because that's not how fine jewelry works. Large gemstones don't belong in hospitals, kitchens, or on hiking trails. Meghan, by contrast, appears to wear everything at all times. Cooking in diamonds, hiking in diamonds, theme parks in diamonds. Catherine creates tangible impact. What she wears sells out. The places she visits see tourism rise. The causes she supports receive real funding. She elevates initiatives without making herself the centerpiece. Meghan's approach, however, has frequently involved attaching herself to existing work and hoping some of that credibility transfers. Attempts to capitalize on the visibility of the whale's children have repeatedly failed because legacy cannot be built by proximity alone.